Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Well, I'll start all over again if you don't mind.
Sure, no problem.
Okay, so hello everyone. My name is MC, and I will be your host for this CryptoCoinsCoach live Telegram interview. Today, we will host an AMA panel for Nervos Network, CKB token, and we're delighted to be here today with Mr. Ben Morris, Director of Business Development and Growth for Nervos Network. Thank you for being here with us today, Ben.
Thank you very much for having me.
So I'm sure our followers are familiar with CKB and maybe even invested in your project. However, it would still be great if you could give us a brief introduction about both yourself and also about your project.
Okay, no problem. As I said, it's great to be here with you. I guess first we'll start with a little bit about me. I spent 10 years in financial markets across Sydney, Singapore, and Dubai. I started my career in Bloomberg and spent most of my time in the electronic trading business. And then in 2015, I moved to Dubai as the head of treasury at Thomson Reuters, looking after a $100 million portfolio. And then I decided to join blockchain because I wanted to basically bet my career on it. And at that stage, I joined a project called Status, where I was tasked with building an incubator. And we ended up investing in a few very successful projects like Super Rare and Matrix and LeapDAO. I then was later tasked with building a private blockchain fund for some private investors. And then in 2020, I joined the Nervos Network. Now, a little bit about Nervos. Nervos is an open source smart contract blockchain with huge, enormous ambition. So it aims to solve the blockchain trilemma by a multi-layer approach, starting with an ultra-secure UTXO-based layer one, so similar to Bitcoin, and an ecosystem of high-performance scalable layer twos. Now, the team itself is truly decentralized, and they're scattered all around the world in every single continent. And the project is also backed by some of the industry's biggest funds, including Polychain and Sequoia. Nervos has been on mainnet since November 2018, and we've spent these last 2 years effectively getting ready for this moment. And right now, we're about to enter a very exciting phase. It's our new phase of growth. And we can talk a little bit about that a little bit later, I guess.
Well, I can only congratulate you on all that. And now I would like to ask you about BTC. As you know, it's close to the $60,000 region, and adoption of cryptocurrencies is growing worldwide. We learned recently that the Bank of America's crypto research team has launched its first report, Digital Assets Are Too Large to Ignore. After all this, I would like to ask you, what's your view on the current market we're in, and what do you expect it will go from here?
Yeah, so blockchain technology and Bitcoin is inevitable, regardless of where you sit on your views on the technology itself. Overall, though, I think we can expect the market to continue to grow and accrue value. Now, if you zoom out, you'll see that the market cap of the entire blockchain ecosystem is still very small compared to other asset classes, such as commodities or equities. And most industries, I would say, 99% of those are yet to be really disrupted by the technology. Now, in saying that, the path of growth will most definitely not be smooth, and the risk of another crypto winter is plausible. We still face regulatory uncertainty. The SEC's approval of ProShares Bitcoin ETFs is positive. However, institutional investors still face significant barriers of entry. And lastly, the technology itself is not usable to the masses. There are very, very difficult UX problems that exist and have not truly been solved. However, I would say that Nervos is leading the way through some of the initiatives it has going, namely through using flexible crypto primitives. It's able to tackle some of these really big UX problems.
Well, very interesting approach. Thanks for sharing. Now, I'd like to ask you about NFTs. What's your view on NFTs?
So I think that this is very much the beginning of NFTs. And I'm personally more interested in the utility of NFTs as opposed to their speculative value. saying that, I think digital art is an incredibly interesting use case, as creators and artists from all around the world now have a channel to display and sell their artwork. They no longer need to have a certain background or live in a certain city to offer their work to a global audience. And I think that's incredibly powerful. But what's particularly interesting for me is how NFTs can be used outside of digital art. So for example, I expect to see more games like Axie Infinity emerging next year, and things that NFTs will allow for, and sort of these games will allow for new economies to grow around them. I also think that there is huge potential for metaverses to further develop, and there are quite a few that are growing and have had some success. However, I see this sort of expanding much further, and these metaverses will eventually provide a channel for people to utilize the NFTs that they own in different ways, in ways that they're not able to right now.
Very interesting. And now I'm going to focus on Nervos, if you don't mind. What are the differences between Nervos Network compared to other blockchains?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the Nervos Network was built to combat one of the blockchain community's most significant problems today, and that is a lack of interoperability. So the current state of the market is compartmentalized. There are thousands of networks, all with their own unique niches, operating completely alone. And sadly, these networks lack the capability to exchange data in a streamlined manner. As such, developers often waste time recreating features that are readily available in other platforms. Now, by providing a way for these systems to communicate, the Nervos Network eliminates developers' need to start from scratch. It also eliminates the need to use multiple wallets, exchanges, and remember a bunch of passwords and seed phrases. So in short, the Nervos Network provides an economically sustainable, secure, and expandable solution as an open blockchain platform for innovators to build decentralized, autonomous, and universally accessible applications.
Wow, sounds impressive. I can only congratulate you on that again. And I'm going to be daring and say, what is the latest news you would like to share with us about the community and the community?
Well, there's quite a lot happening now, and I alluded to it a little bit earlier when I said this is a very exciting phase for us. So along with Nervos's what we call Interoperability 2.0 plan, we've just crossed a very significant milestone with the first Nervos Network cross-chain bridge, which is called the Force Bridge. It went live on mainnet about over a week ago. And the Force Bridge is a trustless bridge that allows for the seamless cross-chain transaction between CKB, the native token of Nervos, and Ethereum. However, once the new support is enacted, users can make transactions between CKB, BTC, and ADA, the Cardano token, without the usual obstacles seen on other bridges, meaning users will be able to seamlessly move assets across these networks. Now, beyond these networks, the Force Bridge will expand to basically any other significant blockchain that has users and has assets. So think of Tron, think of Polkadot, think of Elrond, think of anything that has usage. The bridge will be expanded to support those.
Wow, Force Bridge sounds amazing. And could you tell us how Nervos will grow in the next quarter and year?
So Nervos is currently focusing on expanding two ecosystems. Firstly, with the upcoming launch of Godworken, which is our EVM-compatible Layer 2, we will see dApps built on Ethereum or other EVM chains deploying on Nervos. Our initial focus is DeFi, and projects like the Yokai DEX will lead the way there. Yokai is an ecosystem project that's currently on testnet, but will be on mainnet over the next few weeks. Secondly, we're also rapidly growing our NFT ecosystem. So Mibao, a primary issuance NFT platform, had a successful launch in China earlier this year and attracted thousands and thousands of users. We're also very excited about the launch of our international NFT marketplace later this month, which will allow issuance and secondary trading of NFTs for the first time on Nervos. Now, what makes it unique, however, is that users will be able to sign up and create a wallet without the need to memorize seed phrases and download add-ins. It'll be a very internet-like experience.
Wow. Thank you for sharing. Now, we noticed that Nervos Network just established a natural alliance with IOHK and Cardano. Could you explain more in detail about this?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's been something that we've been working on with Cardano for, I'd say, almost a year. The initial conversations were towards the end of last year with the Cardano team. And the UTXO Alliance is an initiative created to kickstart collaboration with individuals and organizations to make the UTXO model more scalable, secure, and interoperable. And there's a few goals that I think are probably important to outline. One is that it makes it easier for developers to build impactful applications on UTXO-based chains. Secondly, it paves the way for seamless interoperability across the 4 blockchain platforms, and there's certain study groups that have been formed to discuss and tackle this. Thirdly, it combines research efforts across these projects. And then fourth, it's designed to educate mainstream users on the benefits of the UTXO model. I think right now, the most popular model is overwhelmingly the accounts model that was pioneered by Ethereum. And the accounts model is fantastic and has many advantages. I think Bitcoin's UTXO model and the way that's applied across projects within the alliance is fairly unique and also has its own unique advantages. And so we're hoping that this alliance will help to really advocate those.
Well, it all sounds amazing and super useful, and I'm really glad you shared it with us. Now, if you don't mind, we've got some user questions I've chosen for you, so I'll move on to that part.
Sure.
So the first user, Freebird Packy, says, what is the use case of the Nervos Network?
Okay, well, that is a big question. So Nervos Network is in the stage of scaling up the network where we offer blockchain connectivity and an internet-like network. So we are pushing this idea of interoperability 2.0, which I mentioned to you, with a suite of developer tools upon the Nervos blockchain. Now, earlier we spoke about the Mibao marketplace, a decentralized account system where you can store your wallet and social media accounts. Sorry, Mibao, which is the marketplace, and then a decentralized account system called dApps, which we haven't actually spoken about. But dApps is an incredible project that's built on Nervos, and it allows you, similar to ENS, to create a domain name, but also store your social media accounts, your own personal URLs, and it will become basically your single source of identity across the blockchain universe. And then there's the upcoming exciting news around the NFT marketplace, which I mentioned, which I hope to speak a little bit more about in a few weeks' time. Unipass, which is the identifier tool, Yokai, the DEX, and then the bridge that connects all of these things with other blockchain networks. So it's hard to give you one specific use case for Nervos. What I would say is that you can think of it as a foundational infrastructure where multiple use cases can be built. We don't target specifically enterprise. We don't target specifically consumer-facing applications. We're simply providing the infrastructure and the base level that allows for all these other use cases to exist.
Well, that more than answers our user's question, so cheers for that. Now we've got ZozoMar1911, who says, please explain why there is an unlimited supply from an investor perspective. Like a sudden increase in circulating supply can impact their investment negatively.
Yes, that's a fantastic question, Zozomar. So there's a very good answer for that as well. In Nervos, developers must store CKB in order to deploy dApps in the blockchain. So if you want to launch an application, you need to lock up some CKB. Now, the more dApps that are built on Nervos, the more CKB is needed, and therefore more CKB will be locked up. Now, as long as the dApp lives on Nervos, that CKB will be locked and can't be used. So inflation is used to create effectively database space so that the network never runs out of storage. So think about it like the internet. The blockchain needs to be large and expandable and not restrictive and small. So you need constant issuance of CKB in order to invite more and more applications to build and therefore lock up these assets on the network. Now, it's worth noting, however, that issuance of CKB or block rewards reduce over time. So very similar to Bitcoin, every 4 years, the rewards are reduced by half. And so we see that as being as effectively sort of managing the inflation rate so it doesn't inversely impact investors.
Sounds super interesting. Thank you for answering. Then we've got Starkip, who says, how do apps benefit from switching to Nervos Network? Quite interesting, I may say.
That is also a great question and one that I'll gladly answer. Now, there's several great blockchain projects that dApp developers can choose from. And, they all have their advantages. For Nervos, however, ours are fairly unique. So the biggest advantage, is that dApp developers can deploy on Nervos once and access users everywhere. And if you just think about that for a moment, that's an incredibly powerful statement. So I'll follow that up with an example. So let's say you build a native application on Nervos. Users across other blockchains will be able to use and interact with your application from their existing wallet. They won't need to change network settings or do anything different. In fact, they probably won't even realize that they're using an application that's deployed on Nervos. So let's say I'm an Ethereum user. I have an Ethereum wallet. Let's say I've never heard of Nervos. I could potentially be using an application on the Nervos network with my MetaMask or with any existing Ethereum wallet that I have without needing to change any settings at all. I'll seamlessly be able to use that application. I'll be able to take advantage of the security and the scalable nature of that application. And all of this will happen in the background without any additional steps by the user themselves. Now, secondly, Nervos offers a secure and scalable alternative that caters for teams wanting to build both EVM-based projects on the layer 2 and native layer 1 projects. And so given Nervos is still early in its state, very sort of early, projects can receive a higher level of support and can therefore enjoy the growth of the network over time. So we think that now that a lot of the foundational technology is completed or about to be complete, this is the perfect time for application developers to join us and enjoy the growth that we expect over the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And the third advantage or the benefit from switching to Nervos Network is that we have a very active grants program and several funding options for quality teams that need some initial funding. We also have the $50 million innovation fund for later stage investments. And practically what that means is that we are happy to work and handhold projects that are promising throughout this process, throughout the process of initial funding and then to getting larger scale funding through a fund like innovation. As long as they're a promising team and they have a promising product, we basically offer a white glove service.
Sounds like a real gem you've got going on there. Thank you for sharing. Last but not least, Kitso3 says, my question is about long-term marketing plans. How or through which big partnerships do you plan on utilizing to pass your product, onto the normal, especially non-crypto people?
All of these are great questions, and this is also a fantastic one. So in terms of marketing, we're focusing on building a long-term awareness campaign that positions Nervos as the future interoperable network. So that's something that's very, very important for us. we were also focused on educating developers on the uniqueness of the network, and in turn amplifying big opportunities with recognizable brands, right? So I think they form the foundations of our long-term strategy. Now, to answer the second part of that question, the biggest barrier for the masses is currently the user experience, and we've spoken about that a couple of times now. People are not used to the concept of a wallet, seed phrases, plugins, or additional software that's required to make blockchains usable. Unipass, however, which is an ecosystem project, is an identity solution and aims to tackle this massive problem. It allows applications on Nervos to onboard users by simply creating an account with an email and password. Now, this account will give the user a wallet address, and they can use it across any application that supports Unipass. So in terms of partnerships, we can't reveal too much, but we are working with several large non-crypto partners that will bring with them their users. And the reason why they chose to work with us is because of solutions like Unipass, because they allow for their audience, who are mainstream users, to easily access our network and easily enjoy the benefits of blockchain technology.
Well, thank you ever so much for your time, Ben. Sadly, we've reached our time budget, but it was a real pleasure and honor to host you here live on CryptoCoinsCoach.